Arizona progressives are working to primary Senator Kyrsten Sinema as the Democrat has emerged as one of the key figures holding up the Biden agenda. In 2018, Sinema became the first Arizona Democrat to win an open Senate seat in 4 decades. But she's facing protesters and a potential no-confidence vote from the state party. Sinema has been key in preventing Democrats from raising the minimum wage, as well as shrinking the size of President Biden's social and climate spending plan. Senator Sinema says that she takes these stances because, quote, "My vote belongs to Arizona, and I do not trade my vote for political favors. I vote based on what is best for my state and my country." Although her seat isn't up again until 2024, people in her state are laying the groundwork for a challenge now. I want to bring in Luis Avila and Chuck Rocha. Luis is a community organizer and spokesperson for the Primary Sinema Political Action Committee, and Chuck advised Senator Bernie Sanders' 2020 presidential campaign. He's also the founder and president of Nuestro PAC. Welcome to you both. Luis, let me start with you. Senator Sinema started in politics as a progressive. What do you think has prompted her shift to the center?
Well, to be honest, we simply don't know. The ways that she's been acting lately seems to be as someone who is opportunistic, as someone who is really like out of touch with Arizonans, not really knowing how to represent us, and also being in the pocket of corporations and, taking special interest, as more important people than the voters who actually elected her. We're really disappointed not only of the way that she's been acting, of the lack of clarity that she's provided on her positions, but also how inaccessible she's been in the last year and probably even beyond that, not having meetings with groups here locally, not responding to advocates who want just to know her position on issues. And we're really concerned on her ability to actually represent us.
Well, Chuck, you have called Senator Sinema a, quote, boiling pot situation with progressives. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, I think you can hear the frustration with my brother Luis. You can hear the frustrations with the voters, and you can hear frustrations with just middle-of-the-road Democrats like myself. I don't like the way that we are starting to phrase this as progressives going after Ms. Sinema. I think that this is Democratic activists like me that are worried we can't keep this seat with the lack of support she has with Democrats in the state as we head into 2024. I've been an active part of the Senate campaign committee where I wrote thousands of dollars worth of checks. I run a super PAC that's going to be working to elect Democrats and re-elect Democrats in Senate states all over the country. That's why we've launched Run, Ruben, Run, because we think Congressman Ruben Gallego best represents Arizona, Latinos, combat veterans, instead of somebody like Senator Sinema, who's losing support because she's standing in the way of progress of my president, Joe Biden's agenda. Joe Biden wants to build back better. There are Latinos in Arizona that demand to be heard because they've delivered this state for Joe Biden. Joe Biden is returning that favor by saying, guess what? I'm going to help you with child care. I'm going to help you with tax release for your children. I'm going to help with community college. And Kyrsten Sinema, the senator from Arizona, is standing in the way of that progress, and Latinos demand to be heard there.
Chuck, what's the latest on your efforts there to draft Congressman Gallego? I mean, is he committed to run?
Well, I think he's concentrating on running for Congress right now, but we are raising money to put into a fund that will be turned over to him if he decides to announce. The only advantage Senator Sinema has over anybody who wants to get into this primary is, to Luis's point, she has lots of backing from corporations and rich people that will have an unlimited budget that she can raise. So we want to give progressives, middle-of-the-road Democrats like Congressman Gallego, a path to at least be competitive by raising money and having email lists that we can turn over to him so we can have a fair fight about who's the best voice for Arizona in the 2024 primary.
Luis, give us a sense of your view of the political landscape in Arizona. I mean, what makes you believe a more progressive candidate could win in that state, which has historically been fairly conservative?
I mean, we have to remember that we went from being the epicenter of hate in 2010, right, with anti-immigrant draconian legislation, policies that attacked communities of color, to becoming a battleground state in less than 10 years. That work didn't happen, just organically. It was an intentional effort by organizers, community organizations who registered hundreds of thousands of voters, mobilize voters, engage them, educate them, to ensure that we elected Democrats and others across the board, from city council to statewide office to the senator herself. And it is surprising now that it is our power that is getting these elected officials to office, and that we have to make sure that the voters know that they can hold them accountable. What I'm most concerned about is that during a pandemic, we had historic number of voter participation by youth, Latinos, Native American voters, and all of these voters put their hope during a pandemic on candidates like Kyrsten Sinema, Mark Kelly, and others to deliver for a platform that President Biden has presented as a Build Back Better platform. We know that issues like free community college, immigration reform are critical to Arizonans. So if we are not getting what we were promised by the people we're electing, we're going to take them out, because this power we have built in the last decade, it is not just to elect people, but it's to actually get policies done. And if there's one thing that Kyrsten Sinema hasn't done, is deliver for our state. And if she's not delivering for us, she has to go.
Luis, then let me ask you, where does that leave moderate Democrats and undecided voters in Arizona? Do you think you could potentially lose that voting bloc?
Yeah, this is interesting because, pundits and the media have been talking about moderates and liberals and progressives. The reality is that Arizona voters care about issues. Over 70% of voters in Arizona have already said that the issues on the Build Back Better platform are actually things that they want to get done. Community college in rural communities, for example, is really inaccessible. The Build Back Better plan has provisions to allow for community college to be free for Native American communities in rural areas and other places. Voters don't think about, what side of the aisle they're, voting for, as long as the people who are delivering for them are delivering every single day. And, the experience here is not only on the issues that we see the senators standing for or standing by, but the really bad thing here is that Kyrsten Sinema hasn't responded to any of our requests for meetings, for response on issues and positions. She's just out of touch. She's spending more time with, corporate lobbyists and people with deep pockets than with the community advocates who actually got her elected. And that is what has to change. She has to know that the issues for Arizonans, regardless of party, are the ones that are bringing us together. This is why there are people from all backgrounds in the political spectrum here in Arizona coming together to say we have to have something better. And if that is going to have to be primarying the first Democrat we elect in decades, that's what we're going to have to do, because we took out Sheriff Joe Arpaio before, Jen Brewer before, like really draconian policies. We can get this done too.
Chuck, you accused Senator Sinema of not only failing progressives, but also Latinos. How?
I think Luis brings it up. Latinos want basic things. We want to have access to our elected officials. And what Luis was talking about is probably the most important thing here. Arizona used to be a really red state. I'm not a grassroots activist like I used to be. I run a political consulting firm. I work on races all across the country, and I've sat back as a leading senior Latino operative in the country and watched activists like Luis and across Arizona change the face of Arizona. They took on Joe Arpaio. They took on Jan Brewer. They've turned that state from being deep red to purple to now voting for Joe Biden. And that was on the back of this emerging Latino population. And so that Latino population just wants folks to meet with them and to help them make their lives better. And that's exactly why everybody's doing this. I wish I wasn't doing this. Luis would wish he would. We both wish we had elected officials we can meet with, have debate about, talk about what's best, and try to get something done for our community. At the bottom line, that's all we want to do. That's why we created Run, Ruben, Run, because I personally think that a Marine combat veteran that is a bilingual Latino would bring a lot of people together, and this would give the Latino, in my opinion, a voice in the Senate there. Arizona's never elected a Latino senator. California just got their first Latino senator. We're not going to wait that long in Arizona when we have another Democrat standing in our way.
All right, one thing is for sure, Arizona continues to be at the center of a lot of the political discussions in this country. Much more to come. Luis, Avila, and Chuck Rocha, good to have you both. Thank you very much.